Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your source material, sort of tear it apart, and synthesize the surprising history, facts, and insights you need to know.
Yeah, really big in.
And today we are jumping in a time machine. We're going back to 1878.
To look at this really quite extraordinary scientific text.
Yeah, by Henry Raymond Rogers, MD. It's called New and Original Theories of the Great Physical Forces. And it's radical.
That's putting it mildly. He basically tried to invent a whole new universe.
Right. He just threw out the standard playbook for physics as they knew it then. Misunderstood, he thought.
Completely. So our mission here is to really unpack this alternative scientific worldview he built.
A unified worldview.
Yeah.
He was looking for one single principle to explain, well, everything.
Exactly. To replace things like the nebular hypothesis, the standard idea of how the sun works, even gravity.
So what was the magic bullet, the core idea?
He called it the vito-magnetic fluid.
Vito-magnetic fluid, okay.
And his claim was that all the major physical forces we see, light, heat, gravity, wind, even life itself, they're all just different faces, different manifestations of this one single agent.
Now, the idea of unifying forces, that wasn't completely new back then, was it?
No, not at all. By 1878, scientists had already made pretty strong connections between light, heat, electricity, magnetism, chemical action. They knew these things were related.
Right. There was a sense they were getting close to some kind of grand unification.
But gravity was the holdout. It still seemed separate.
And Rogers comes along and says, I've got it. I know the intimate nature of these forces.
Pretty much. He argued that the only way to get true unity was through this pervasive substance, this vito-magnetic fluid. That was the key.
Okay, so how does he start building this new cosmic framework? Because the standard view was, sun radiates energy outwards. Earth just catches some of it.
Right, and Rogers said that just couldn't work. He was, and I quote, unable to accept the usual explanations.
Why not? What was the problem?
Because, he argued, they violated the inexorable law of conservation of force. Energy conservation, basically.
The idea that energy isn't created or destroyed, just changed.
Okay. So if the sun is constantly pouring out this enormous power onto the Earth...
Where's the balance? How does that conserve energy?
Exactly. Rogers demanded what he called retroaction. If the Earth receives all that power, it must return an equivalent amount to the uttermost fraction, as he put it.
So it's a two-way street. The sun isn't just giving, it has to receive too.
Yes. The old view overlooked that the sun receives and sympathizes. It's part of a circuit, not just a source.
Okay, I think I follow the logic there, based on conservation.
Yeah.
But if Earth has to pay this energy back, what's it paying with? What's this huge returning force?
He calls it Earth's vis viva, living force.
Vis viva.
Right, and what makes that up?
Well, it's a combination of colossal forces on Earth. First, the huge incandescent core of the Earth. He thought that made up something like 98% of the Earth's mass.
98%. Okay, that's a lot of heat energy. Then add the constant motion and friction of the oceans. Tides sweeping around the planet, he calculated, at 1,000 miles per hour near the equator, twice a day.
Wow. The scale is immense.
And all the winds, everything from a gentle breeze to a massive hurricane, plus every chemical reaction, every bit of burning, every evaporation happening anywhere on Earth.
So all that earthly activity generates this vis viva.
Which flows back to the sun, completing the circuit.
And that interaction, the sun's magnetic power meeting Earth's return vis viva, creates what he called the grand magnetic circuit.
Yes, and that circuit, that dynamic interplay, is the actual source of all the forces we observe, light, heat, gravity, everything.
Okay, that's a grand theory.
Yeah.
But did he have any proof? Any observable evidence for this energy flowing back from Earth?
He certainly thought so. His prime example was the aurora borealis, the northern lights.
The northern lights, how do they fit in?
He saw them as the visible manifestation of this retrocurrent, flowing upwards from the Earth to restore the magnetic balance with the sun.
So not just pretty atmospheric lights, but cosmic electrical discharge.
Precisely. And he pointed to observations that the aurora happens at incredible altitudes, 80 to 265 miles up.
Way beyond the bulk of the atmosphere, which is mostly down near the surface.
Exactly. So for Rogers, that proved it wasn't just some local weather thing. It was a positive, fundamental cosmical function. Earth paying its dues.
Okay, if this grand magnetic circuit is real and there's this constant back and forth, that completely changes the nature of the sun itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It throws the whole giant ball of fire idea out the window.
Because that would violate conservation again. just burning endlessly.
Violently violated, according to Rogers. If the sun is part of a balanced circuit, it can't be consuming itself like that. So he flips the script entirely.
How?
He proposes the sun is actually cool, dark even,
Yeah.
and habitable.
Whoa, hold on. Cool. Dark, habitable, but it's the sun. It's blindingly bright.
Optical illusion, according to Rogers.
An illusion.
He argues the brightness isn't the sun itself. It's caused by the sheer aggregation, the density of this vito-magnetic fluid, which is sunlight, filling the 93 million miles of space between us and the sun. He called it the solar tone space.
So that whole space is like a glowing medium.
Yeah.
And the sun at the center is dark.
That's the idea. He even pointed to sunspots as glimpses of the sun's true dark surface, kind of echoing earlier ideas from Herschel about a potentially cool globe inside a bright shell.
Okay. And this also means planets don't shine just by reflecting sunlight.
But no, not borrowed light in the simple reflective sense. For Rogers, planetary light happens when the sun's vito-magnetic current hits the static vito-magnetic fluid already in the planet's atmosphere and sort of vivifies it, lights it up locally.
It's a cooperative process then. Light generated on the spot.
The sun's current activates the planet's potential.
All right. If light is this vito-magnetic fluid, this current, what does that do to the speed of light? People like Romer and Bradley had calculated it using astronomy.
Rogers dismissed those calculations. He thought they were unreliable.
Unreliable. Why?
Compared to what he felt was a more fundamental truth, maybe drawing from thinkers like Descartes, light must be instantaneous.
Instantaneous.
Yeah. If light is this magnetic fluid and magnetism seems to act instantly across space.
Then light must too. No travel time needed.
Right. That neatly sidestepped the whole issue of calculating light speed across vast distances. Of course, we know now that's completely wrong, but it fit his magnetic model perfectly.
Okay, let's circle back to the sun's heat. If it's not burning, how does he explain the heat we feel? He criticized the combustion theory pretty harshly.
Oh, absolutely. He thought it failed spectacularly on grounds of conservation.
Because of the sheer amount of fuel required.
Exactly. The amount of material the sun would have to consume to constantly irradiate that much heat in all directions was just inconceivable.
He had that comparison, right? About coal fields.
Yeah, a really striking one. He calculated that all the known coal in Pennsylvania, which could power the world for ages, wouldn't fuel the sun for even 1,000th of a second at its observed output.
Puts it in perspective. Just impossible expenditure.
And it violates conservation. So his alternative, drawing from the grand magnetic circuit again.
The retroaction.
Yes. Heat isn't projected from the sun's body. It's generated within the circuit by the vast energies of spheres retroacting upon spheres.
Like friction in the circuit.
Sort of. He used an analogy of a great sun battery. The battery itself, the sun stays dark and cool.
Okay.
But when the circuit is completed by Earth's return current, the interaction generates light and heat out here, at a distance from the source.
So light and heat are produced in the space between by the circuit's activity.
That's the idea. It preserves the sun's integrity and adheres to conservation.
Okay, so light and heat are manifestations of this vito-magnetic fluid in the circuit. What about gravity? That was the big unsolved piece back then.
Right. Newton himself called it a mystery, possibly related to a higher and still unknown force.
And for Rogers.
Gravity wasn't separate either. It was a production of the exact same sun core, earth core retroaction. That magnetic circuit is gravity, in a sense.
So the circuit makes the sun and earth act like giant magnets pulling on each other.
Essentially, yes. He pointed out that others, like Masadi and maybe Faraday, had suspected gravity might be just a residual portion of some much more powerful pervasive force.
And that force was?
His vito-magnetic fluid, naturally.
What was his proof that gravity was magnetism?
He argued their characteristics are identical, both act on all matter, both are attractive, both are proportionate to mass.
And crucially,
both follow the inverse square law. The strength drops off with the square of the distance.
So if it looks like magnetism, acts like magnetism, follows the same rules.
It is magnetism, or rather a specific effect of this grand vito-magnetic system. It was his way to finally unify everything.
Okay, let's bring this theory down to earth, literally. How does this vito-magnetic fluid explain everyday stuff like, say, the wind?
Well, wind isn't just air moving around mechanically, filling pressure gaps. No. For Rogers, it's a purely vito-magnetic phenomenon.
How so?
The wind is the vito-magnetic fluid itself, shifting back and forth within the atmosphere.
To do what?
To maintain magnetic equilibrium. It's balancing the local magnetic charge, basically.
So wind isn't just moving air, it's like an invisible electrical adjustment.
Yeah.
That is different.
Very different. And he claimed this magnetic force could act instantly.
Instantly. How did he justify that? Normal air pressure takes time to equalize.
He pointed to extreme weather events. His key example was a massive hurricane in Barbados in 1831.
What happened there?
Apparently, the wind was howling from the northeast. Then there was a sudden dead calm for about an hour.
Eerie.
And then, quoting an account, quick as thought, the hurricane sprang up with tremendous force from the SW, opposite direction, instantly.
And he argued no simple air pressure change should do that.
Exactly. No mechanical disturbance could reverse direction that fast with that much power. Only a magnetic-like force could explain it.
He also mentioned something about flags, right? A wind within a wind.
Yeah, another piece of evidence he liked. An observation at Norge Cathedral. The flags on the spire, 300 feet up, were seen streaming straight upwards towards a passing cloud.
Upwards, against the normal wind.
Totally against the steady lower wind blowing at ground level. He said that vertical current was a local vito-magnetic action, the atmosphere adjusting its equilibrium with the charged cloud passing overhead.
A wind within a wind.
Oh.
Okay, fascinating if you buy the premise.
Definitely requires buying the premise.
Now, if the sun is dark and cool, and the light is generated in the space between, how does that make sunspots? They were a big puzzle, too.
Right, and Rogers thought the existing theories about sunspots were inconsistent because they assumed the spots were on the sun's surface.
Which he believed was dark anyway.
Exactly. So his explanation was that sunspots aren't on the sun at all.
Where are they then?
They are interruptions of continuity in the vito-magnetic fluid itself, out in that vast solar cone space.
So like gaps or disturbances in the glowing medium between us and the sun.
Precisely. An interference somewhere along that 93 million mile line of sight creates an optical illusion that looks like a dark spot on the sun's distant disk.
And this explains.
Their incredible speed, how they can appear or disappear almost instantaneously.
Ah, because the disturbance isn't happening way over there on the sun. It could be happening closer to Earth or anywhere in between.
Yes. He cited observers like Crone, who saw a spot just spring into existence in under a minute, and Wollaston, who watched one apparently shatter while he was observing it.
And that speed seemed impossible if it was a huge physical event on the sun itself.
Right. But if it's just an interruption in the light transmitting fluid, it could happen much faster. It's an ingenious way to explain puzzling data using his model.
So stepping back, what does all this mean for us, for life, if we're swimming in this vito-magnetic fluid?
Well, he saw the atmosphere as fundamentally vital because of this fluid. He claimed it formed the bulk of the atmosphere and was actually more vital than oxygen.
More vital than oxygen. Wow.
Yeah. This element, this fluid, was the governor of all life, the medium for all physical processes. Life itself depended on it.
And that ties into his medical background, presumably.
Directly. He believed health was the normal, balanced action of this vito-magnetic principle in the human body.
And disease.
Was abnormal action, an imbalance. And he was utterly convinced that meteorological influences, changes in this atmospheric fluid, what we might now think of as electromagnetic shifts or weather patterns, were the biggest factor by far.
The power, far overshadowing all other influences combined, I think he said.
That's the quote. He thought changes in this environmental fluid were key to health and sickness.
Did he see any practical uses for his theory? Beyond medicine.
Oh, definitely. He was quite forward-looking there. He talked about harnessing natural power.
Like hydropower.
Exactly. He explicitly mentions converting the momentum of rivers, tides, waterfalls into this vito-magnetic fluid.
Which is basically electricity in his model.
Right, and then transporting it by wire to be used elsewhere as light, heat, or mechanical power.
So he foresaw electric grids powered by renewables.
Pretty much. He wrote that when we do this, man is only imitating nature in her everyday operations through sun and earth. He saw it as totally natural, mimicking the grand magnetic circuit.
That's quite visionary for 1878.
It really is.
Yeah.
He thought accepting his theories would lead to the collapse of things like the nebular hypothesis and the wave theories of light and heat.
And he felt technology was proving him right.
Mm-hmm. He pointed to things like the telephone, sound traveling instantly over wires.
Not as sound waves through the air, but transmitted instantaneously by the vito-magnetic fluid, like magnetism.
That was his take. Proving, he thought, that sound waves had no act or part in its conveyance over those distances. Another validation for his instantaneous fluid.
So, to sum up, we've explored this incredible, all-encompassing vision. A cosmos running on a single vito-magnetic fluid, part of a grand circuit.
Where the sun is cool, gravity is magnetism, wind is an electrical adjustment, and light is an instantaneous fluid filling space.
It's a spectacular intellectual construction. Completely wrong by modern standards, but wow, what a coherent alternative universe he built.
And he knew it was controversial. He blamed the slow acceptance on the tenacity with which the minds of men are held by preconceived and pre-existing opinions.
He didn't see himself as inventing something totally new out of nowhere, did he? More like uncovering the true nature that others had missed.
Exactly. He felt he was fulfilling what scientists like Faraday were searching for. He even quoted Faraday wrestling with the problem of unifying forces.
What was the quote?
Faraday said something like, "The clouds which obscure our mental sight are daily thinning, and I cannot doubt that a glorious discovery in natural knowledge is awaiting our age." Rogers clearly thought he had made that discovery.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It leaves a provocative question for you listening today.
We're pretty confident about our current models of gravity, light, the sun.
What big, challenging, maybe unsolvable problem are we facing right now in science or medicine?
That might only be stuck because we're clinging to what Rogers called a figment of the imagination. Some core assumption we just haven't questioned deeply enough yet.
What invisible fluid or unquestioned law might be obscuring the next great leap? Something to ponder.